Okay, good afternoon to all of you. Today we'll discuss the rest of the part of pipeline flow corrosivity. So I think you are doing good. So before going to the rest of the part, so let's see that what we discussed in the last class. The last class we discussed that what are the factors that influence the pipeline flow corrosivity, including the factors water phase characteristics, emulsion, then wettability of the metal surface, then multiphase flow regime, multiphase flow velocity, salinity, CO2 pressure, H2S influence, oxygen, I mean dissolved oxygen present in the aqueous phase, pH of the aqueous phase, and temperature. And also we saw that material selection for the corrosion. Actually, if we have the different types of alloy composition and microstructure of the steel, that can also influence the corrosion. We also discussed the the accumulation of the water in the pipeline, and that depends on the different factors that can influence the pipeline corrosivity, types of emulsion, wettability, and change of corrosion rate of the aqueous phase in presence of crude oil. We discuss this part, location of the water accumulation. Then we discuss different types of emulsion, oil in water, water in oil, and types of emulsion also, and then methods of identify the types of emulsion, dilution test, conductivity test, dye test. Then in details how to do the dye test, and then we discuss the dilution test, we discuss electrical conductivity test, then we discuss the fluorescence test, cobalt chloride test, and after that the characteristics or properties of emulsifying agent. Sometimes it's called surfactant. We also saw that what are the actual properties, characteristics of the emulsifier agent. Then we also discuss the separation of emulsion. There are three types of separation: heating, centrifuging, and freezing. So how heating can help to separate the emulsion, we also discuss centrifuge and also freezing. Then we discuss the effect of emulsion on corrosion. Okay, if it is water in oil emulsion, if it is oil in water emulsion, then how corrosion will be affected by the different types of emulsion. Then we discuss the wettability of steel surface and how wettability of steel surface can affect the corrosion rate. And next part, how we measure, how we can determine the wettability of a particular steel or particular pipe surface or maybe rock surface. Okay, that is the equipment called goniometer. Using this equipment, we can determine the wettability. Then we discuss the hydrogen sulfide corrosion. And in hydrogen sulfide corrosion, we saw that there's a particular mechanism where mecanoite is formed, is maybe following the path 1 or maybe following the path 2. Okay, and we discuss details that how path 1 form the mecanoite and how path 2 form the mecanoite. Okay, if we follow path 1, also we finally receive the FES, and in part 2 also we will see that FES is formed, and that is the corrosion of steel surface in presence of H2S. And this is the mechanism, simple mechanism, that if you have steel and definitely Fe is present here, so if you will release 2 electrons, it will produce Fe2 plus, and H2S also breaks into H plus and S2 minus. As I said that using the Taylor participation, I mean Taylor pairing, then Fe2 plus is the borderline acid and S2 minus is the soft base, so they will pair up and it will form FES. And I told you that this is the details of the hydrogen penetration to the steel when hydrogen sulfide will be broken into H plus and S2 minus. So you can read this slide and you can get more details of the procedure. And this is just a schematic diagram that how hydrogen sulfide will produce the corrosion on the steel surface. It's a one type of pitting corrosion. And the methods of hydrogen sulfide corrosion prevention, as I discussed, that cathodic protection, galvanization, and chemical inhibition, as well as the H2S resistance coating to protect the pressure vessel from the corrosion. So now today we'll see how multiphase flow can also affect the corrosion. Before going to the multiphase flow corrosion, we should understand that what are the different types of multiphase flow. Multiphase flow means when you have more than one phase, like oil and water, and gas are flowing in a pipeline, then that flow can be called as multiphase flow. So what are the different flow design? And if we see their description, we see that maybe it's a bubble flow or dispersed bubble flow. So what is this actually? Bubble flow occurs at large liquid flow rates with little gas flow. So when you have most of the flow rate based on the liquid flow, and if you have a small amount of gases present, then your bubble will be produced. Okay, definitely we saw that if you have like water, and if you are just putting some carbon dioxide and just stirring, then you can see the bubble is produced. Okay, so bubbles of gas dispersed or suspended throughout the liquid container space. Typical features of this flow are moving and deformed interface of the bubble in the time and space domain, and complex interaction between the interfaces. This flow can be categorized further into ideally separated, interacting bubble, churned, turbulent, and clustered. Due to the buoyancy force, bubbles tend to drift in the upper portion of the pipe. Okay, so we'll see in the schematic diagram how bubble formation is taking place. Okay, then next one is the plug flow. Actually, plug flow develop as the flow rate is increased while vapor flow is maintained at the low amount. Okay, so you have a very high flow rate and your vapor flow is also maintained at low amount. Then plug, sudden some plugging will be happen in the pipeline. Okay, stratified flow when gas and liquid flow will be continued where there is a separation by the interfaces taking place. So this occurs when the gravity force dominates, which causes stratification of the liquid at the bottom of the pipe. Okay, and next one is the wavy flow. What is wavy flow? When you have gas and liquid flowing through the parallel stream. Okay, and on that time the low gas velocity is there, and it will produce the different types of wave. An example would be like waves on the sea. In case of slag flow is defined by the intermittent sequence of the liquid slag containing dispersed gas bubble alternating with longer bubble will get a width. Okay, so when slag flow means when you have some particle will form with the flow path. Okay, maybe gas and liquid, it will merge and produce some sort of solid particle. Okay, so that type slag flow will happen. Annular flow. In annular flow, maybe your water or liquid is flowing middle of the portion, but inside there's some gas is also flowing. Okay, on that time we will see the annular flow. Mist flow, dispersed mist flow. It occurs at very high gas flow rates. It is characterized by a dispersed phase being suspended in a continuous phase. In this case, gas liquid flow, it occurs when liquid particles are suspended in a continuous gas phase. Now, if we see the diagram, how we can distinguish here in x-axis gas velocity, in y-axis liquid velocity. So when I have stratified flow, then your gas velocity is low, as well as liquid velocity is also low. So on that time, you will get the stratified flow. So what is the actual characteristic of the based on the flow velocity of liquid and gas? If flow velocity of liquid and gas is small, then stratified flow will be produced. Stratified wavy, you have very high gas flow, but liquid flow is small. So you are sparging carbon dioxide in a water, okay, where water is totally settled, or there's no movement of the water, but you are giving a very high speed carbon dioxide into the water. Then you will see that there's some bubble is produced, that is a stratified wavy. So in case of sludge flow, you have a gas velocity, medium gas velocity, but respective to the gas velocity, liquid velocity will be high. Then you will get slag flow. Annular flow, you have very high gas flow rate, but medium liquid velocity. And in bubbly, both. I mean, in case of liquid velocity is very high, as well as gas velocity also medium. Then on that time you will get that bubble flow. So these are the different flow design. Okay, based on the multiphase flow. So if I ask that, okay, describe the multiphase flow based on the liquid velocity and gas velocity. So you have to just draw a symmetric diagram, not like putting a different scale, and you have to properly place the stratified flow, stratified wavy flow, annular flow, slide flow, as well as bubbly flow, where they will placed actually. It's not like that bubbly flow you will put here. Okay, it's not possible because in this case you need high liquid velocity and medium gas velocity. So these are the description. Again, I put just if you need to read again, you can read, because in case of deviated pipeline as well as a horizontal pipeline, what type of flow happens. It's better to discuss in this slide. When you have vertical flow of a gas liquid mixture and when you have horizontal flow of a gas liquid mixture. In case of vertical flow of gas liquid mixture, if we want to represent in a graphical way, then what you'll see, this is a gas volumetric flux and this is a liquid volumetric flux. Okay, so in liquid volumetric flux, if you have bubble flow, then your liquid volumetric flux will be high, but gas volumetric flux is low. Okay, if you have churn or slag flow, or slag flow, one type of both are same, you will see that both are almost high. I mean, gas volumetric flux is also high and liquid volumetric flux is also high. In case of dispersed, liquid volumetric flux is very high, but gas volumetric flux is medium. In case of annular, it's also showing that liquid volumetric flux is medium and gas volumetric flux is very high. So in this case, you can see that this is a bubble flow, this is a sludge flow, this is a churn flow, annular flow, and dispersed flow. Okay, what different types of bubble is produced, formed. Yes, sludge means gas. This is a gas bubble, and this liquid. So gas bubble is produced over a very high amount. And this is a churn flow. Yeah, churn flow means liquid is produced some type of slurry within the pipeline. So this is called a churn flow. This is annular flow. As I said, that liquid is here and gas is flowing the mid. And this is a dispersed flow. Similarly, in case of flow regime of the horizontal flow of a gas liquid pipeline and gas liquid mixture, we'll see that mass flux of water and mass flux of air. Similarly, if mass flux of water is small and mass flux of air is medium, then you'll get stratified. Similarly, you'll get wavy when mass flux of air is high and mass flux of water is medium or small. Similarly, you can get slag flow, bubble flow, annular flow, and dispersed flow. So this slide is very important because you should have the idea based on the volumetric flux and mass flux of water and liquid and gas, okay, or liquid and gas, how the flow regime will be identified with the diagram. This diagram is not too difficult. Okay, you can easily draw by anyhow. So this is the multi-phase flow regime. Now, if your multi-phase flow regime is this, then when you have bubble flow, okay, so what will happen is maybe some fretting corrosion may happen. Bubble are produced and again it's just disappear. Okay, produce and again burst, produce and burst. So on that case, it will give a certain force on the pipeline surface. So maybe the fretting corrosion may happen. In case of very high velocity, maybe erosion corrosion may happen. So based on the different types of flow, you have to identify what type of corrosion may happen. Now, effect of multi-phase velocity. Okay, when you have a different multi-phase flow, then based on the velocity, what happens? If we have very low flow velocity, okay, if we have very low flow velocity, then suddenly you are increasing the flow velocity. So what will happen? Once you increase the flow velocity, that increases the mass transfer process of oxygen, and that increases the passivation and depassivation ability and leads to the metal passivation while the corrosion is relatively weak. So you have a low flow velocity and you are increasing suddenly the flow. So on that time, corrosion rate will be also decreased. What is passivation? Passivation is a process of treating all the coating of a metal in order to reduce the chemical reactivity of that surface. So that is called passivation. In the case of stainless steel, passivation means removing the free iron from the surface of the metal using an acid solution to prevent rust. So this is the passivation. Now, if you have high flow velocity, the increase in flow velocity makes the shearing stress continue to increase. So what will happen? More oxygen will be delivered to the electrode surface, and the passivation of the metal surface is caused by oxygen participation in anodic passivation reaction will be reduced, and the corrosion process is changed from the cathodic process to anodic process, anodic control, which result again decrease in corrosion, okay, with increasing flow velocity. So once your multi-phase flow velocity will be increases, your corrosion rate will be decreases. Okay, this is the main effect, because due to the passivation, repassivation, and also the dissolved oxygen supply, rate will decrease in this process. Now, significance of the salinity. So in case of significance of the salinity, if you have seawater, once you are just you have pipeline in the offshore, and if you have the formation water and their salinity is very high of the formation water, then what will happen? If the salinity is high, the salinity directly affect the conductivity and oxygen of the seawater. So if you have high salinity, then your corrosion may increase, but up to a certain level. Once you have salinity like 2.9, from that part salinity is increases, okay, but after 3.6 it decreases, because when you are increasing salinity, the oxygen supply is increasing up to a certain portion, and once it's more than 3.6, then it will be saturated and no oxygen will be supplied, okay, so your corrosion rate will be decreased. So this is the significance of the salinity and effect of salinity on the corrosion. Okay, if there's any question like discuss the significance of salinity, then you have to say that why salinity will why corrosion rate will increase with increasing salinity using this diagram. Okay, the symmetric diagram you can take any type of scale, but 3.6 is main point. Okay, now carbon dioxide corrosion. Sometimes you know that we used to inject carbon dioxide also for the enhanced oil recovery, or sometimes carbon dioxide also produced in the thermal enhanced oil recovery. Okay, so as you have carbon dioxide and you have also water present there, so what will be the reaction? So initially carbon dioxide reacts with water and it will produce H2CO3. Okay, then H2CO3 will break into will produce H plus HCO3 minus. This HCO3 minus will release H plus and produce CO3 2 minus. And we know that if you have steel surface, it automatically produces Fe2 plus. So we have Fe2 plus, okay, we have Fe2 plus in the cathode, and CO3 2 minus already available. So Fe2 plus plus CO3 2 minus, it will produce FeCO3. And the corresponding cathodic reaction at lower pH, 2H2 plus 2 electron, so it will produce H2 plus 2OH minus. So the main equation, I mean the overall electrochemical equation equals to Fe plus CO2 plus H2O, it will produce FeCO3 plus H2. And the symmetric diagram, the mechanistic diagram is like that. This is the Fe surface, okay, and now you have carbon dioxide present here and also water is present here. So sometimes carbon dioxide water reacts, produce H2CO3, H2CO3 release H plus HCO3, HCO3 again come to the surface, it will produce FeCO3, and also this H2O, it will produce H plus and OH minus. So this is the reaction and mechanism. Okay, so based on the reaction, okay, you can make 3-4 steps. Okay, the first step producing H2CO3, second step HCO3 2 minus, third step CO3 2 minus, and then finally FeCO3 is produced. That is the actual carbonate precipitate. Okay, so once this carbonate precipitate will be dissolved, then your corrosion will be increases. So as CO2 concentration will be increases, then the corrosion may increase. Significance of CO2 pressure. Now you have CO2 present in the system, but it has a partial pressure. So based on the partial pressure, how corrosion will be affected? Okay, when CO2 partial pressure is increased from 0 to 1.5, see in the graph, 0 to 1.5, the corrosion rate of the steel increases sharply. Okay, why? The concentration of H2CO3 increase as the partial pressure of CO3 is increased. Because we know that as H2CO3 is produced, then your corrosion will be increased. Now, which decrease the system pH and therefore increases the corrosion rate. Now after 1.5, suddenly corrosion rate decreases. Why? When CO2 partial pressure is increased from 1.5 to 5, the corrosion rate of the steel decreases. Okay. With the continuous increase of CO2 partial pressure, a protective layer gradually form on the surface of the steel. So once you are increasing the CO2 partial pressure, a protective film is produced, okay, on the surface of the steel. Then there will be no corrosion. Now again you are increasing partial pressure from 5 to maybe 6, 7, 8. Okay. So once you are increasing the CO2 pressure up to 9 megapascal, the corrosion rate of the steel increases because the protective layer that formed, now it is dissolved, okay, in the solution. Okay, that's why corrosion rate again increasing. And after certain time, once it will increase from 9 megapascal to 15 megapascal, the corrosion rate is almost constant because a protective layer on the steel surface is formed and the partial pressure of CO2 also increases. So when CO2 dissolve in the water equilibrium, CO2 solubility almost no longer increase after certain time, okay? Because CO2 solubility will reach to the saturation point. After that point, there will be no CO2 dissolution and the system pH is almost invariable and the protective layer is not dissolved. So based on this figure, we have different points and how CO2 pressure influence the corrosion. I guess it is clear, okay? So if this type of question will come, you have to draw the curve and explain all this point, okay? Now significance of dissolved oxygen. As we said that dissolved oxygen can also influence the corrosion. So when you have the different aeration time, I mean the CO2 exposure, so dissolved oxygen concentration increases. As dissolved oxygen concentration increases, what will happen? Then your corrosion rate will also increase. So dissolved oxygen can destroy the protective hydrogen film that can form many metals and oxidize dissolved ion into the insoluble form. Okay. So with increasing dissolved oxygen, okay, your corrosion rate will be increases. But after certain time, when dissolved oxygen amount will be almost same or saturated, then your corrosion rate will not increase. It will take a equilibrium point. Equilibrium way. So that is the significance of dissolved oxygen. So if your dissolved oxygen is high, then your corrosion will be increases. Okay, based on the aeration time. Next one is the significance of pH. Okay, so as you see, sometimes carbon dioxide present, sometimes H2S is present. So sometimes this carbonic acid is formed and some other acid is formed. So maybe pH will be varied. Okay, so once your pH is increasing, okay, then your corrosion rate will be decreases. Why? That if you see that it is known that corrosion is affected by pH, and from the different studies, it can be concluded that rate of corrosion decreases along with increasing pH. Why? It is found that the corrosion rate of carbon steel decreases with increasing pH value towards the alkaline end, while increases with increasing AC current density. So when you are increasing the pH, so it is going towards the alkalinity, and that means OH minus ions is more and more in the solution. Okay, so your OH minus ion is more, so it cannot produces oxygen there. Okay, and as your dissolved oxygen is also low, then the corrosion rate also decreases. So if it is pH greater than 10, then what will happen? Definitely your corrosion rate will decrease very fast. Okay, because of alkali and dissolved oxygen ion gets passivated. Okay, as I said, that dissolved oxygen will be decreased, and that's why your corrosion rate will be decreased. And another one is the effect of temperature. The temperature also plays an important role in the corrosion. So when your fluid is flowing through the pipeline, then the temperature of the fluid also influences the corrosion. Okay, and now if you have a closed system and if you have a open system, closed system means where from the beginning to end there's no open hole on the pipeline, okay, or maybe there's no chance to get aerated with the oxygen or with the any type of environment. Then in an open system, up to 100 degrees centigrade it will be increases, and after that it decreases because the falling and because after 100 degree why it is falling off? Because the decrease of O2 solubility in the water as temperature is increasing. So once your temperature is increasing, then oxygen solubility in the water will be also decreasing after a certain time. Okay, and in the open system, rate increases fast. Okay, and in the closed system, oxygen cannot escape. Okay, rate increases with T until all O2 is consumed. Okay, as this is closed system, no oxygen cannot be go outside, and that's why your corrosion rate will be increased. Okay, so this is the effect of temperature on the corrosion rate. Okay, so these are the all about pipeline flow corrosivity, and we already discussed almost 6-7 parameters that can influence the corrosion rate of the pipeline flow. Okay, so now we can discuss and we can go for the question answer. So if you have any question, then we can now discuss the question. Okay, now I open for all, so you can ask the question right now. Hello. Yeah, you can unmute yourself and you can ask question. Yeah. Jansi.
No, sir, no question. You can continue, sir.
No, I mean today we will just stop here because this is very simple things and this is one of the part we have to cover because next part maybe testing and then prevention. Okay, we have time. We have time up to 3rd or even maybe mid of May. Okay, so no need to continue lots of things in one day because next Thursday we'll start a new topic. Okay, and
Okay,
another thing that you just read these slides if you have any questions or any doubt. Okay, but what I suggest, this is just gist of all effect. Okay, so you have to extend the discussion. You cannot just write that rate increases and corrosion increases. Why increases? As I discussed in this way, then you have to write something, not only just point wise, because when I am giving 4 or 5 marks, hello.
yes, sir.
Yeah, when I giving 4 or 5 marks, then it's not like that you will just write the only points. Okay, so you have to discuss. You have to elaborate the discussion.
Okay, sir.
Okay, and so next time we will discuss the prevention or maybe the testing. But the assignment I gave you, have you found the answer from any other books or any internet source? Because
Yes,
we
sir.
have. Yeah, some of the
Yes,
students they
sir.
submitted, but some of the students asked me also that I'm not getting the answer, all these things. But I think it's not too difficult. If you try, you can get the answer from internet or maybe from other book. But in next class, I will try to finish the corrosion testing. Okay, because what are the corrosion testing methods are important and why it is important, we'll discuss that one. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so we are stopping here, and in next class we will discuss the other topic. Okay.